All right, well, the landscape of college basketball changing also affected the Atlantic 10. Xavier out to the Big East, Butler out to the Big East, but Bernadette McGlade wasted no time making moves of her own. She didn't sit back. George Mason enters this year, Davidson the next year. What are your thoughts on the new look?
I think they're two great additions to the conference. George Mason, not all that far removed from the Final Four appearance. Great coach in Paul Hewitt, and it's a team that returns really a veteran core this year, so they should be able to make a jump. And then Davidson, just a solid program down in that Charlotte market. Bob McKillop has done a tremendous job there for 20-plus years, so I think they're both great adds.
Well, other than URI, because it's going to be a 13-team league this year for the Atlantic 10, what are some guys we need to keep our eye on outside of Kingston, Rhode Island?
Well, from an all-conference perspective, Chaz Williams at UMass, we know he's still there, dynamic. After transferring from Hofstra, he does it all for that team. He's just relentless and puts pressure on you both offensively and defensively. Another point guard that I really like is Tyreek Duran at LaSalle. He's just such a consistent performer, very rarely has an off night. And he's so huge for Doc Giannini's team, particularly this year as they lose Ramon Galloway. He has to continue to stir the drink and get guys in positions to score and put them in good quality scoring opportunities, as he always has. And then finally, Dwayne Evans at St. Louis. He was, quite frankly, a man throughout the last 9 or 10 games of the season last year. Averaged about 14-7 on the year, but over his final 10, 20-10. He's great for Jim Cruz. He's going to really be needed because they're without Kwame Mitchell and Cody Ellis, who have graduated.
One theme about this conference in the last couple of years is at the end of the run, whenever we get to the conference tournament, it's always 1 or 2 teams who we were not talking about in the month of October. You have your sleeper this year?
My sleeper this year is George Washington. I think this is a team that will be picked somewhere in the middle to bottom middle of the pack, you know, scrunched into that 4 to 10 team range, but on the lower side. But they return a great group of sophomores that got a ton of burn last year, and really baptism by fire, 13 and 17 a year ago. They also have probably the conference's best shot blocker in Isaiah Armwood, who's back. He does it on the offensive end as well. And then they welcome Maurice Creek, a very, very talented transfer from Indiana University, who will show veteran leadership to that crew of sophomores. So as Lonergan's team gets more familiar with his system, I think they can make a jump.
All right, folks, we've got great stuff down here in Brooklyn. Ben Parisi, Chris DiSano, thanks for joining us on Cox Sports Online.
From the Ryan Center on the campus of the University of Rhode Island, Cox Sports presents Rhody Basketball. Tonight, the Rams in an A-10 matchup with George Washington. And it's great to have you with us, everyone, alongside Chris DiSano. I am Eric Freed. In this first season as Rams head coach, Dan Hurley will have a lot of firsts and bests. His first A-10 victory was the best win of the season for Rhode Island.
A huge victory, 82-80, overtime win at St. Louis, a very, very difficult place to play. And the Rams shot a searing 55% from the field in that one against a normally very stout defense. They look to put another first on the board tonight, their first Atlantic 10 Conference winning streak as they take on GW.
GW is a very young team, but they're very good defensively. So who do you look to for the Rams tonight to get going offensively?
Well, for URI, it's going to have to be their seniors once again, Nick Milesevich and Andre Malone. Last time out against St. Louis, Malone with 14 points and 9 rebounds. Those rebounds were critical. He's going to have to hit the glass again tonight because GW boasts quite a front court. And Milesevich, 14 points, 5 assists, got involved on both ends of the court and knocked down a couple of threes. A great sign for Rhode Island because he's a huge barometer for this team.
Isaiah Armwood is the one to watch here for this George Washington team, coming off a very impressive win of their own at UMass.
They are, and Armwood is really the key. He's spectacular. 6'9", 210-pound transfer from Villanova. The junior anchors the paint from this team. He's an explosive leaper, 12 points and 8.5 rebounds per game. And on the other end of the court, 2.8 blocks per game. That's second in the entire Atlantic 10 Conference. So URI is going to have to do as best as possible to keep him in check.
The Rams come home looking for an A-10 win number 2 and their first conference win at home. Can they heat things up on a bitterly cold Rhode Island night, or will the Colonials steal a road win at Kingston? It's George Washington with Hippo as cargo. You can look it up. And the Rams, the tip next.
So Kilpatrick trying to feed it inside to Rugg. Able to get it in from close range that time, did Clancy Rugg.
And he earned that bucket right there. Did an excellent job of shielding the ball using the rim and was able to flip it up and under. Good interior pass too. Nice angle on that pass and perfect delivery of the bounce pass. Yeah, he's great off the ball screen. It's exactly what they go to here.
Splits the defense to the basket for two.
Wow. Unbelievable move by Lindsay right there on the split, and then kissing it off the glass with a little bit of English with the offhand finish too. Right hand down the left side of the lane.
For the second straight game, Cedric Lindsay has scored 19 points. Bryant, number 11. Francis blows by and throws down.
Wow, Francis, class is in session on that last play with the up fake, eyes on the rim, sold the fake, defender bit, went for it, and then 3-step power dribble, slams it home. Nice rip through right there by Xavier Munford, and that's something that you're going to see. These GW freshmen, very, very athletic, very talented, but still just freshmen. Savage, one of these defenders, he's going to be an extremely good on-ball defender, still learning, though, to use his feet rather than his hands. Didn't use his feet quick enough there and picked up the foul.
Fights through it, binds, banks it in.
Still counts as 2. But again, if you're Rhode Island, you'll take Brian Bynes shooting a contested 2-point jump shot.
And a turnover. Another good defensive play by Garino to the basket for 2.
Streaks down the right-hand side and lays it in. Garino excellent at anticipating, getting in the passing lanes. Scores probably 4 to 6 points per game off of his defense. You saw 2 of them right there. As teams like Syracuse and Pittsburgh have faced others like UConn and Georgetown for the last time in Big East regular season play, realignment cuts a swath through the heart of college athletics. Spurred by football dollars initially, schools have changed conferences like a game of musical chairs, and the Big East was not immune, with Syracuse, Pitt, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Rutgers all moving on, and others on the way in. Eventually, the so-called Catholic Seven, Providence, Georgetown, Seton Hall, Marquette, Villanova, DePaul, and St. John's, had enough, and reports surfaced that the Seven would leave the Big East collectively and form their own league. Last Thursday, news broke that the new league, comprised of the Catholic Seven and a few select others, could form and begin play as early as the fall of 2013. With a new TV contract that would guarantee somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million a year to the schools, the Catholic Seven finally rediscovered their basketball roots and made the call. The C7, as they're called, are expected to keep the Big East name. The league is expected to seek sovereign status and form in the summer of 2013. The league will initially be comprised of 10 teams, and reportedly joining the C7 are Xavier and Butler from the Atlantic 10, with the 10th team undecided, but Creighton of the MVC and Richmond, also of the Atlantic 10, are supposedly high on the list. While none of those rumored to be joining the league have made any formal announcements, it has been known in college basketball circles that Xavier and Butler are virtual locks. In Xavier, the new Big East is getting a perennial NCAA tournament team that has reached 4 of the past 5 Sweet 16s, a feat only 3 other blue bloods in college basketball have accomplished. As for Butler, the Bulldogs made trips to 2 straight Final Fours in 2010 and 2011, and Brad Stevens is one of the nation's brightest coaching stars. Other outlets have reported the new Big East going to 12 teams by 2014. But according to my sources, that's not a lock. Yet, in the world of realignment, there are no locks. The Catholic Seven's group decision to move together has helped keep several rivalries intact. Nova will still battle Georgetown, PC will face St. John's, and so on. Rather than a football footnote, the new Big East can be a basketball headline. Chris DiSano, Cox Sports.